Chapter 10, Magical Showdown. The pre-dawn light cast an eerie glow over Merry Hollow's town square, the usual twinkling Christmas lights replaced by an otherworldly shimmer of frost and ice. Citizens gathered in hushed groups, their breaths visible in the frigid air. The crunch of snow underfoot and the occasional whisper were the only sounds that broke the tense silence. At the center of it all stood the great Christmas tree, its once proud branches now drooping under the weight of unnatural ice. Holly Evergreen stood before it, her witch's hat slightly askew and her green eyes filled with determination. Beside her, Jack Frost's icy presence provided a strange comfort in the face of the coming confrontation. "Are you ready?" Jack asked softly, his cool hand finding hers. Holly nodded, squeezing his hand before stepping forward. She raised her wand, its tip glowing with a warm, golden light that seemed to push back against the encroaching darkness. "Citizens of Merry Hollow," she called out, her voice magically amplified to reach every corner of the square, "it's time. Remember what we practiced. Focus on your happiest Christmas memories, on the love and joy that have always defined our home." As if on cue, the townsfolk began to move. Elves and humans, reindeer and sentient snowmen, all took their places in a giant, intricate pattern that spread out from the Christmas tree. Juniper and Pepper worked their way through the crowd, offering words of encouragement and last-minute instructions. Holly took a deep breath, centering herself. She could feel the magic of Merry Hollow pulsing beneath her feet, a mix of the eternal Christmas cheer they had always known and the wild winter power that now sought to reclaim its place. With a gesture of her wand, she began the ritual. A soft humming filled the air as the citizens of Merry Hollow began to channel their magic. It started as individual notes, a child's giggle here, the tinkle of a silver bell there, but quickly grew into a harmonious chord of pure Christmas spirit. Golden light began to emanate from the gathered townsfolk, pushing back against the encroaching frost. As the ritual gained strength, the great Christmas tree began to respond. Ice melted from its branches, revealing vibrant green needles underneath. Ornaments that had been dormant for days sprang back to life, spinning and twinkling with renewed energy. For a moment, it seemed as if their plan might work without confrontation. But then, a bone-chilling wind swept through the square, carrying with it the haunting laughter of winter itself. The sky darkened as storm clouds gathered with unnatural speed. Snow began to fall, not in gentle flakes but in stinging shards of ice. And there, materializing above the Christmas tree like a terrible angel of frost, was Glacia Winterborn. She was even more magnificent and terrifying than before. Her form seemed to shift between solid ice and swirling snow, her hair a cascade of icicles that chimed ominously in the wind. Her eyes, when they opened, were the deep blue of glaciers, ancient and unforgiving. "Foolish mortals," Glacia's voice boomed, shaking icicles from rooftops and sending shivers down every spine. "Do you think your quaint rituals can stand against the power of true winter? Your time is over. The eternal Christmas you stole will be reclaimed." With a gesture of her frost-covered hand, Glacia sent a wave of intense cold sweeping across the square. Citizens cried out as their feet began to freeze to the ground, the golden glow of their magic flickering under the onslaught. Holly gritted her teeth, pouring more power into the ritual. "Hold fast," she shouted to the townsfolk. "Remember who we are, what we stand for. Christmas is more than just magic, it's the love we share, the joy we bring to others." Her words seemed to renew the town's resolve. The golden glow strengthened, pushing back against Glacia's ice. The air itself became a battlefield, with swirling eddies of frost clashing against warm currents of cinnamon-scented magic. Jack stepped forward, his own winter magic creating a buffer between Glacia's attacks and the vulnerable citizens. Ice met ice in a spectacular display, frozen fractals blooming in midair before shattering like glass. Juniper added her wild magic to the mix, calling upon the ancient spirits of the forest. Roots burst from the frozen ground, wrapping around Glacia's form like gnarled hands. But the winter spirit merely laughed, shattering her wooden bonds with a flex of her icy muscles. The battle raged on, magic filling the air like fireworks. Christmas ornaments flew through the air like festive missiles, exploding into showers of golden sparks where they met Glacia's ice spears. Elves wielded candy canes like swords, deflecting shards of ice. A choir of sentient snowmen sang carols with such feeling that their voices created visible waves of warm, red energy. Throughout it all, Holly stood firm at the center, conducting the town's magic like a master orchestrator. But even as she directed the battle, she worked on her true goal, the spell that would allow her to communicate directly with Glacia. As the fight reached a fever pitch, with neither side able to gain a clear advantage, Holly felt her spell finally click into place. With a cry of triumph that was drowned out by the magical chaos around her, she sent her consciousness hurtling towards Glacia. For a moment, Holly felt as if she was falling through an endless void of swirling snow and ice. Then, with a jolt, she found herself in Glacia's memories. She saw the world as it had been eons ago, when winter roamed freely. Glacia danced through ancient forests, her presence bringing the quiet beauty of snowfall and the cleansing purity of ice. Holly felt the joy Glacia took in her purpose, the pride in being part of the natural cycle of the world. Then came the binding. Holly experienced Glacia's confusion and fear as the founders of Merry Hollow worked their magic. She felt the agony of being trapped, compressed, forced into an unnatural sleep. And through it all, the maddening ticking of time as years, decades, centuries passed. When Holly's consciousness snapped back to her body, she found herself on her knees in the snow, tears freezing on her cheeks. She looked up at Glacia with new understanding, seeing not just a force of destruction but a being in pain, lashing out after centuries of imprisonment. Glacia. Holly called out, her voice somehow cutting through the magical storm around them. Please, listen to me. We understand now. We know the wrong that was done to you. The winter spirit paused in her assault, her swirling form coalescing into a more human-like appearance. You understand nothing, little witch, she spat, but there was a note of uncertainty in her voice. Holly struggled to her feet, aided by Jack and Juniper. But we do, she insisted. I've seen your memories. I've felt your pain. What was done to you was wrong. But this, destroying Merry Hollow, ending Christmas, it won't heal that wound. It'll only create more pain. Glacia's form flickered, ice and snow swirling in agitation. What would you have me do? Return to my prison? Allow your unnatural eternal Christmas to continue? No, Holly said firmly. Never again. But there must be a middle ground. A way for winter and Christmas to coexist, as they were always meant to. The citizens of Merry Hollow, who had been watching this exchange in stunned silence, began to murmur in agreement. Voices rose, offering apologies to Glacia, suggesting compromises. We could have real seasons again, one elf suggested timidly. But still keep the Christmas magic alive all year round, another chimed in. Think of how beautiful Merry Hollow could be with your true winter magic, Holly pressed, sensing Glacia's resolve weakening. Not just eternal Christmas, but a place where all seasons are celebrated, where the change from one to another is a cause for joy. Glacia's form continued to shift and swirl, but the violent wind had died down. She seemed to be considering Holly's words. And how do you propose to make this work, little witch? Words are easy. Actions are what matter. Holly nodded, her mind racing. You're right. We need more than just promises. She turned to the gathered citizens. Everyone, focus your magic again. But this time, don't just think of Christmas. Think of the beauty of all seasons, of the joy each one brings. As the townsfolk closed their eyes in concentration, Holly raised her wand once more. She began to weave a new spell, one that combined the Christmas magic of Merry Hollow with the wild winter power that Glacia embodied. The air around them began to shimmer and spark. Streams of magic, gold for Christmas, blue for winter, and every color in between for the other seasons, swirled together above the great Christmas tree. They twisted and turned, weaving together into a new form. With a flash of light that momentarily blinded everyone in the square, the streams of magic, the tension in the square broke like ice cracking on a spring day. Cheers erupted from the crowd, and the magic in the air took on a celebratory feeling. Glacia's form seemed to relax, the harsh angles of ice softening into more graceful curves. Holly held out the snow globe. Together, then? To seal our pact? Glacia nodded, reaching out to place her hand atop the globe. Holly felt Jack's cool touch as he added his hand to the pile, followed by Juniper and Pepper. One by one, the citizens of Merry Hollow came forward, each adding their own magic to the new artifact. As the last hand touched the globe, a pulse of magic radiated outward. Holly gasped as she felt the change sweep through Merry Hollow. The oppressive winter storm dissipated, replaced by a crisp, clear winter day. But more than that, she could feel the potential for change in the air, the promise of spring waiting just around the corner. The great Christmas tree shimmered, its eternal decorations fading to reveal a natural pine in the full glory of winter. Yet, a hint of tinsel remained, a reminder that the spirit of Christmas would always be present, no matter the season. As the magic settled, the citizens of Merry Hollow looked around in wonder. The town they had known for so long was both familiar and new. Icicles hung from eaves like crystal decorations, while winter flowers peeked out from beneath the snow. The eternal Christmas lights had dimmed, but in their place, the snow itself seemed to sparkle with an inner light. Glacia, no longer a terrifying force of nature but a regal embodiment of winter, surveyed the changed town with satisfaction. "It is done," she said, her voice now more like the gentle fall of snowflakes than the howl of a blizzard. Merry Hollow is reborn, a place of balance between eternal Christmas cheer and the natural cycle of seasons. Holly cradled the new snow globe, feeling the magic pulsing within it. "Thank you, Glacia," she said softly. "For giving us a chance, for being willing to find a compromise." The winter spirit inclined her head. "And thank you, Holly Evergreen, for having the courage to seek understanding rather than simply fighting. It is not often that a wrong can be righted in such a way." She looked out over the town, a hint of a smile on her icy features. "I look forward to seeing how Merry Hollow adapts to this new reality." As Glacia's form began to dissipate, blending with the winter air around them, Holly turned to address the gathered citizens. "People of Merry Hollow," she began, her voice carrying easily in the crisp air, "we've taken the first step into a new era for our town. It won't always be easy. Change never is. But together, we'll find our way." Mayor Candy Cane stepped forward, her eyes shining with unshed tears of joy and trepidation. "Well said, Miss Evergreen. Now, I believe we have some rescheduling to do. After all, we can't have our spring fest in the middle of winter anymore, can we?" A ripple of laughter went through the crowd, breaking the last of the tension. As the townsfolk began to disperse, excitedly discussing plans for the coming changes, Holly felt a cool hand on her shoulder. She turned to find Jack smiling at her, pride evident in his icy blue eyes. "You did it, Holly," he said softly. "You saved Merry Hollow." Holly shook her head, smiling back at him. "We did it. All of us, together." She looked down at the snow globe in her hands, watching the seasons cycle through in miniature. "And I have a feeling our adventures are far from over. After all, we have a whole year of seasons to rediscover." As the first rays of the winter sun crested the horizon, bathing Merry Hollow in a warm, golden light, Holly felt a sense of excitement and possibility she hadn't experienced in years. The eternal Christmas was over, but a new, perhaps even more magical chapter in Merry Hollow's history was just beginning. With Jack by her side and the support of the entire town behind her, Holly knew that whatever challenges the changing seasons might bring, they would face them together. And through it all, the spirit of Christmas, of love, joy, and coming together, would remain, a constant reminder of the magic that had always made Merry Hollow special. As they walked back towards the gingerbread cottage bakery, already discussing plans for a spring-themed menu, Holly couldn't help but feel that the best was yet to come. The magic of Mary Hollow had been reborn, and with it, a whole world of new possibilities awaited. Yet, as the adrenaline of the confrontation with Glacia began to fade, Holly felt a nagging sense of unease. There were still so many unanswered questions about Mary Hollow's past, about the original binding of the winter spirits. As she bid goodnight to Jack and entered her cozy bakery, she couldn't shake the feeling that their journey was far from over. That night, as Holly drifted off to sleep, her dreams were filled with swirling snow and echoes of a past she had never known.